And it all came down to just that missed pylon block by just a fraction of a second by him. Obviously, this is huge damage. He's down to 15 probes, so we're in a huge lead at this point. Played a 1-gate, Proxy 1-gate in PvP, which is not a very common build. This is going to be a PvP replay I played on the North American ladder, and it's a 1-gate Proxy into tech build, Stargate and Rope. So what you're going to want to do is take one of your first 8 probes. I send my 9th probe, which actually is a little late. You want to send one of your first 8 probes out, and we're just going to move it right across the map. So the goals of this build are either to get your opponent to overreact or to underreact. So if he overreacts to it, that means he's going to build too many Zealots, and you're going to be able to get ahead in tech and probably do damage with either the Oracle or later on with Immortals and Prism. If you underreact, you're going to be able to get a lot of damage with the initial Zealots and Adept pressure. So again, we're just building one gateway. Generally, after this gateway would be the second pylon, but since I sent my probe out late, I had already built my second pylon, so now we're going to add gases. So after the second pylon, you add the 2 gases, and we're just continually probe production. We're going to save some Chronos here. You want to save Chronos to Chrono the Zealots. We only use 1 Chrono on our Nexus. And once your gateway's about 3/4 done, that's when you're going to go in with the probe and scout. See if he's gone 1-gate, see if he's gone 2-gate, see if he's proxied. This gives you a good indication. When I move in, I see 2 gateways, and he's just started his core, so he's just playing very standard. And right when that gateway finishes, we're going to Chrono a Zealot, and we're going to start our Cybernetics core at our wall. Building the wall at the ramp is very important because you're not going to have any defending units if they just try to move Adepts right away across the map with their once their core finishes, and you'll have to wall it off with like a pylon, full hard wall it with like a pylon or a battery. So now our first probe's out, or Zealot's out, and we're going to Chrono a second Zealot. We get a surround on that probe, and we kill his scouting probe. So his scouting probe tells him that he knows something's going on, but he doesn't know what. He was just a second late on the pylon block. He was trying to block the pylon right here, but he was unable to. So that was pretty lucky by me. If he would have full walled, this build would have been much less effective. We would have tried to target down the pylon, but it probably would have just done nearly no damage, and we would have just been playing with that at a disadvantage. Even when he does that, though, you do have the Adepts coming up to follow, so you can constantly shade and kind of at least just keep him in his base if he were to full wall. And we could just continue on our tech path. In this case, we get a Adept in, and we're killing Pro. Obviously, this is huge damage. He's down to 15 probes, so we're in a huge lead at this point. But in this case, I was just constantly building probes, so I have an 8-worker lead here at this point, 4 minutes into the game. If he would have gotten that down, I'd be in a world of hurt right now, most likely. But players at lower levels aren't even going to realize that they need to wall. So if you're playing against this, know that a full hard wall is very good against, early Zealots. Obvious. So now we're getting a two Immortals. We move our probe down to see if he's got our units at the ramp or below our ramp, which I suspected he did. So I start a Prism right after, because that way we can do some follow-up damage with the Prism. I see that he's holding, really locked down here. He's pretty much got me contained in my base, which is going to be a pretty common theme with this build if they don't do a lot of damage for it. Sometimes you're going to get contained a little bit, so the Prism's going to really help with that. So now we're just going to move across the map. We know 2 Immortals and a Prism beat 2 Stalkers pretty hard, so we're going to force him to recall home. He recalls, what I assume is everything, but I can't know for sure, so I'm still got to kind of be careful with my Prism. So I check with my obs. He doesn't have any units coming across, so we're going to continue on and just move across the map. I feel move back to my base. The next follow-up is going to be a Twilight Council here, and we're going to add some more gateway. Now, this is kind of a divergence in the build. You can either go Blink. I kind of start going Blink, and then I kind of change my mind. You'll see I go Glaives. I decided to go Adept Immortal timing. Since I have 4 Immortals already, just getting a bunch of Glaive Adepts is probably going to be a lot more advantageous in most scenarios. I mean, 4 Immortals are going to deal with so many Stalkers. So just getting a bunch of Adepts as a follow-up just makes a lot of sense to deal with any Zealots, basically. Now we're just going to go with Immortal Prism timing attack, but this time I have Glaives with it. We're getting a few sentries since I had extra gas, and we're just going to push out here. Glaives is just about to finish, so I'm going to be pushing out again. And again, we're just being very aggressive. We basically kept him uncomfortable the entire game. From the very get-go, and we've just constantly been attacking across the map. Not letting him play the game he wants, but kind of dictating the pace and how the game's going to play out. Which, if you can do that effectively, you're going to have a lot of success if you can get your opponent out of their comfort zone. You see that he has some sentries here. We're going to force field. I think he's setting up some sort of flank, but I kind of just catch these. I'm like, well, these are just free, so we just force field them and kill him. So that was a big mistake by him, unfortunately. And I kind of got the sense that he was going the gold since I saw a probe rallying over there. I sent a couple adepts to verify. And here was where I was very confused. I thought he had this base as well. I thought that he had taken a third at the gold, but he actually just took his natural at the gold, which I think was a very intelligent move, because now he's going to play it as a counterattack play. As I attack, he's just instantly going to go in and counterattack. And he has bases in 2 different locations. He's built half his production at his expansion and half his production in his main. So whether I attack his main or his expansion, he has production in both locations. And as you can see on the minimap, he's built a dark shrine in the expansion as well. I think a good takeaway for you guys is, if you are behind like my opponent was in this situation, these are all very strong ways to come back in a game. These are all taking hidden bases, taking gold bases, building production in 2 locations, and just constantly backstabbing your opponent. He's also making me uncomfortable, because taking the gold base really forces me to want to attack. At the same time, if I do attack, he's got these very quick counterattacking units that can really bring him back in the game. You can see I'm down to 8 probes here. He did a very good job of killing all my probes. So strategically and tactically, I'd say he's really outplaying me at this point. But I just have such a much bigger army than him. He's done everything right from this point, but he was just too far behind from the early game. I did see the DT. I have an OBS, I have Oracle, and I'm just waiting to clear up the rest of his army. He's only got a few stalkers left. He definitely made it interesting, but yeah, the overwhelming amount of units I had just was too much for him. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you guys have any questions, please leave comments. Otherwise, I appreciate watching, and until next time, peace out.